new module, which is the database management system. Right. How many people are having the knowledge on database? Chiru, do you have any kind of experience on SQL or else any database?
I have a
Yeah,
basic.
yes, I have knowledge.
Sorry?
Yeah, I have knowledge on SQL Server and PLSQL.
Okay, that's
Oracle
good.
PLSQL.
Okay. So, I mean, now at what percent, I mean, if I'm giving like, 10 points, then how much you can rate yourself on SQL?
Yeah, it's I think so. Both of them maybe in between 6 to 8.
Okay, good. Okay, so, and is there any other like, Madhu, what about you?
I can rate myself 3 to 4, like.
Okay. Yeah, Shrey and Varun.
Yeah, so in terms of SQL, like basic manipulation operations and what are the databases, so how to like extract information and write on the queries. Yeah, I have experience in that.
Okay. Sreja, what about you?
I just have some basic knowledge on SQL commands like select, basic command knowledge. That's it. Select statements, where group, very basic. That's it.
Okay. Okay, no problem. Okay, cool. So this session we'll talk about, database. So we'll go ahead with, database understanding. Like, so there could be many databases out there. So from that one, I will go with the SQL Server. Okay. So the reason is that it could be the free for Windows and even MySQL also it could be the free, I think so. Okay. And you can so you can launch that, your server and your client, your server, okay, SQL Server as well as database management system. Then you can able to, interact and we can write the queries and everything. So before I start that information, I want to give you some basic knowledge. So might some people they are not having good knowledge on SQL, so that I would like to give you that information as well. Okay. So please follow this information. So what is data, guys? What is data? And what is information? What is data and what is information?
Yeah, data is nothing but can be anything in the format of text files. Anything we call the data.
Okay. Any raw information, right? Any raw information,
Yeah,
we
any
can
raw
call it
information we call it data.
we call it as a data, right? So maybe log files also it's a data, and even you are giving some kind of structural data also, it could be the data, anything. Data, it could be some kind of raw information. It could be in the format of text, images, or else, it could be like, log information. Okay, so the data, it could be anything actually. Okay, so it's a raw information. It doesn't have any kind of specific meaning, right? Okay, the information which doesn't the raw information, it doesn't have any kind of any kind of specific information, that we can call it as the data. Okay, coming to the information, so it's quite opposite for the data. So here the data and information both are same, but here it could have some kind of meaning. Okay, so here also may data is nothing but it may have the information, it may have the meaning, it may not have the meaning. Okay, it could be it could be raw information. Okay, so but no or no meaning or meaning, it doesn't mean that anything. Okay, so coming to the information in the sense, the data, it could have some kind of information. The data, it will talk about kind of specific thing. Okay, data could talk about,
it should have some relation
yes,
between.
yeah, could talk about some specific meaning. Okay, The data we talk about some kind of specific meaning. So I just want to give some kind of information. Okay. I just want to give some kind of example. So this is my log information, and so it have some kind of phone number as well. See, this is the date. This is the data. Okay. From this particular, this is the data, but this data, it have some kind of information, and but it's but for seeing, you can't even find out whether it is the data or not. Okay, but it's have some kind of it have some kind of a thing that we are calling it's a data. Okay, so it doesn't have some specific meaning, right? It doesn't have any specific meaning, right? But when it comes to the meaning, it comes to the information. So like information, Anjan Kumar, and so I'm giving this kind of information. If I'm giving this kind of information, then what happens here? So what is the difference between this thing and what exactly the difference between this thing? Okay, here this is the raw information. This is the specific information. You can simply identifying that, okay, this is the phone number and this is the name, right? This person is having with this phone number, right? Yes or no? So you can identify. See, and before databases, usually this kind of data, you can store it in the different file formats. Okay, different file formats, different file structure. So different file format and different file structure. What kind of file format you can usually store it in our before databases? Before databases, might you can able to store the data in Excel format, might hold the data in CSV file formats, or else we can hold the data in doc file formats. Okay, and meanwhile we can hold the data in PDF formats, right?
Yes. Or images.
Okay, and anything actually. So the data you are holding into in a different formats. Okay, different formats. Okay, but so when you're holding the data into this one, it could be the structural data, it could not be it could be a structural data, it could not be unstructured data. Okay, so if you want to maintain some kind of structural, okay, if you want to maintain some kind of structural data, so the databases comes to the picture. Databases comes to the picture. Okay, so what exactly the databases? Databases in the sense, it is a disk. Database is nothing but it's a disk actually. Okay, it's a disk. It will maintains the, it will store the data, and it just for storing the data. Okay, just for storing the data. Just give me 1 second of time. So databases means it's a disk actually, it will store the data. So how the databases can be store the data? Okay, I just explain you in a graphical format so that even you're not having any kind of knowledge, you will easily identify it. Okay. So for example, I do have, okay. There any shapes? Insert. Let's go with inserts. Okay. Yes. Okay. See, let me call it, it's a database. Okay. Let me call it, it's a database. See, database means it's just a structure. Prasad, can you switch on your camera? Switch off your camera? Yes, fine. Okay. So you just imagine this is the database. Okay. Is it something like disk or not? So how the data it will hold that, how this database and how this particular database hold the data, how that this particular database stores the data. Can anyone tell me?
Yeah, the data it will store in bits and bytes in
The data,
space.
of course, anywhere the data it could be stored in the format of bits and bytes only. But how it will manage the data, how it will hold the data. See, in case of any databases, the data it could be in a format of tablers. The database it could be hold the data in a tabular formats. Okay, this is the one table.
Different.
Okay, and table means what? Can everyone know that what exactly the table? Table means it should have some kind of rows and columns, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's object context data.
Yes. So the top thing we are calling it's a column name. It might having the column name 1. This is column name 2. This is column name 3, right? So these columns which is giving that what kind of data which is holding this particular column. What kind of data and what data will be holding into this particular column, and what data will be and what type of data will be holding into this particular column, that it can be described by this particular column names. Okay. And moreover, the database, the single database, it's not only stored the single table actually. It will hold the multiple tables. It will hold the multiple tables. This is one table and this is one table. Okay. And this way, you can hold the multiple tables in a single database. Okay. So like this, we can hold the multiple tables in a single database, right? As of now, this is fine. Sometimes it depends upon the client requirement. You have to give the relationship between, you have to give you relationship between. That means you have to give the relationship. Okay. Shape. Okay. Yes. So you have to give the relationship between between the tables actually. So you have to give the relationship between here, and you should give the relationship between this table and this table. Okay. Are you following my point? Internally, the databases, it will hold the multiple tables. It will hold the multiple tables. These tables, it may have some kind of relationship between. It may have some kind of relationship. Okay. This relationship and these tables and this database, anything could be created already when you're working in a real time. Okay. But for best practice, we have to start building your own databases, and you have to create your own tables, and you can try to insert the data. Okay. So in real time, usually the database is already created because of you started working in a middle of the project, right? So that this database is already created. Okay. And tables also, some people, the database admins already created. Okay. And the work of you is that storing the data into the tables. Okay. and accessing the data from the tables. So that kind of thing only you might, you can do some kind of operations and you can do some kind of analysis on the data. So that is the work only you can do usually. Okay. But we will talk about this entire operations and those things. But this is the database, right? The database, it could have some kind of tables, right? Okay. Where this particular database is available, where this particular database, it could be available. Okay. Can anyone tell me? Servers. Okay. So you have DB servers in real time. So they will install the DB servers. Okay. They will install the DB servers. Inside of the DB servers, they're going to creating the databases. Database 1. And so meanwhile, same way, you will go for creating the multiple databases. Okay. So how this particular database, same way you can able to go for creating the multiple databases. Okay. So database 1, database 2, database 3, database 4, database 5. Okay. So the single DB server, it may have the multiple databases. The single database, it may have the multiple tables. The tables inside of the database, it should have the some kind of relationship. Is it clear my point? So I told you, right? DB server in the sense it's a database server. So the server which are not available at client side. Usually, I want to tell you one thing. When you start working for one particular project, when we are working with one particular right. Okay. See, I want to tell you one thing. So you have to habituated with this particular term, server and client. Yes or no? Server means what and client means what? So when we are start building of one particular application, okay, server side, there could be some kind of code we should write, and client side, you should write some kind of code, right? Okay. So the server side, usually what it could be there. In server side, usually databases you have to be installed. Okay. And web servers you should install on server side. Okay. This all services you are installed on your server side. In the client side, what you can do, you would like to create some app, or else you can create some kind of browser. Okay. And so from this client, you can connect with this particular servers actually. Okay. This client thing, it could be usually used by end users. End users in the sense, human beings like us. Okay. For example, every time you are using the Instagram, right? So Instagram, it is the app which is used by everyone. So when we are posted one particular application, when you post some kind of post, or else when you uploaded one image, or else when you uploaded one video, usually what happened here? You did that thing at your client side, but usually it will holding into your server side actually. Okay. Is it clear or not? That means your client and server both are not in the same location. It was in a different locations. Okay. So at server side, you are installed the okay, database server. You are installed the database server, right? In database server, it will hold the databases that you already know, that information. The databases, it will hold the tables, right? Is it clear? Which is the relational database, non-relational and relational. Relational in the sense, here the tables or internal tables, the database, it could have some kind of tables. The tables, it could have some kind of relationship, right? Clear. So when the tables having some kind of relationship in the databases, that kind of database servers, that kind of databases we are calling it, say, relational databases. relational databases. Okay, relational databases in the sense internally the databases, it could have tables. The tables are having some kind of relation. Okay. That's good, that it could be fine. But client side, the client side, that means you are the developer. Okay, you are the developer actually. Okay, so as a developer, what you have to do actually, you have to go with you have to go with create the tables. You have to go with creating the databases, and you would like to go with storing the data into the databases, servers, or tables. Then you should have okay, management system. You should have some application management system, that a database management system. So you should have some kind of software. The name of the software is database management system. It's a software actually. Okay, it's a software. It's a software, right? So this is the software you have to install in client side. Client side in the sense developers, testers, and production even. So these all guys could be installed. So at client side, guys, please meet your systems. Okay. So at client side, what you could do actually, you have to go with the you have to go with the install the database management system, and at server side, okay, you have to install the okay database server. Okay. So from client side to server side, if you want to connect, when you are installing the server, okay, it could have the port number, IP address, and port number, IP address, and a port number, and that means username and password. Okay, you have some kind of credentials. I'm trying to tell you, it could have some kind of credentials. When you are install the database server on your server side, okay, if you want to connect with that particular database server from client side, okay, with help of the credentials only we can connect. Otherwise, you can't connect to this particular database server from the database management system. Yes, as a developer, I know the credentials. I know the credentials of this particular database, so that from the database management system, I can connect to this particular database server. As of now, is there any questions, guys? Is there any questions?
No, Anjan.
Let me tell you one more time. Okay. So this is the database server. Okay. What it is? This is database server. So this database server, it is available on client side, sorry, server side. Where it is available? Server side or client side?
Server side. These are available in the server side.
Server side will be there.
Server side, right? Yes. So this is server side. Okay. Usually the server is very secure, guys. It is not even possible, without some kind of permissions, you can't even connect. Okay. Like you are the developers and you're working in a client side. Okay. This is your client. So you are in a client side. Okay. Now, what you could do actually, you have to install. I mean, this is the client side, right? Okay. This is just feel it. It's a client. It's a client side. Okay. So you are already installed the database server at server side. Okay. You already installed the database server. So let me call it. You're already installed the database server at server side. Okay. I want to connect to this particular database server. How it is possible? How it is possible? Let me connect. Let me say that it's a database server. Okay. This is the database server. Server side, not only database server, guys, there could be lot many servers you have to install for working of any particular project. But for my project, I just install only database server. Okay, at server side, and from the client side, I can work for different purposes. At clients from the client side to from the server side, I want to connect. How it is possible? Okay, so now what I should do actually, I have to install the one software. I have to go with install the one particular software. Okay, so let me go with install one particular software. This is the software, guys. Okay, this is the software you are installed at server side. What is this name of the software?
Different server, different tools are there like Toad, SQL.
But usually the technical name.
Yeah, can
SQL
use like
developer.
for Oracle we can use Toad. For SQL we can
Usually
server also.
the name of the server, it could usually we can call it a database management system, DBMS. Okay, database management system. Okay, if it is the Oracle, there could be different kind of database management system. If it is the MySQL, it could have some kind of database management system. But database management system in the sense, it's a software, it could be installed at client side for connecting from client side to server side, client side to server side. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yep. So for example, if Oracle server, if I'm using the Oracle server, there could at client side, you have to install the Oracle supported database management system. If you're using the MySQL server, then at client side, you have to install the MySQL supported database management system. Okay. If you're working with DB2 and server, okay, database server, then what you have to do actually, you have to install the DB2 supported database management systems at client side. Is it clear? So once if you launch this particular, software, okay, and database, database server side, okay, it should have some kind of credentials. It should have some kind of credentials. Okay, these credentials, server credentials, or DB server credentials. DB server credentials. Okay, this DB servers credentials, and it could be very secure so that who need to be connect from client side to server side. Okay, for user to user, they could be give some kind of specific permissions only, so that that server DB server credentials. Okay, and the DB database management system, it will help you to connect this particular database server with help of these particular credentials only. Okay, whatever the database server credentials which are already set, this credentials, uh, as a human being, you have to remember. And so what you could do from this particular database system, when you open, and it will ask you that connections to where I need to be connected. That time, if you go the credentials of this DB server, then you can connect from, you can able to connect from this database management system to and DB server. That means client side, client to server. Once the connection is established, then what we can do, you can start writing the queries here, and you can run and commit, then automatically it will affect on your database server. Actually, if you want to create the database, you have to write the query here and you can execute and we can commit, then the database could be created for on at server side. Okay, for example, I write the query for creating the table at client side. Okay, so that query means it's a one language. Okay, so that query, if I write on database management system, it will execute on database server and it was creating the table at my database. Okay, I want to store the data, then you have to write the queries and it will, if you execute it, it will work on and it will be created. It will be, store the data into the database. That means you don't worry about the server, server side, how the database there and what are the database server. You don't need to worry about it as a developer. Okay, you don't need to worry about this database management system also. So as a developer, you need to worry about only writing the queries. Okay, the reason is that this entire environment, you can easily habituate it within a minute to 15 minutes to 20 minutes, like which database we are working and what are the credentials are there, and what is the database management system we are working, and is there any other specific features are there, specific features are there in this particular database management system. Within 10 to 15 or 1 hour, you can easily habituate it. But writing the queries, it could be the big task for you. And as per the client requirement and depends upon the business requirement, writing the queries is a big task. Okay, so most of the time, or most of the databases are using the one language. The name of the language is SQL language. So once if you habituated with the SQL language, you can if you have a good knowledge on SQL, okay, SQL, then you can easily work with any kind of database management system. You can work with a SQL, you can MySQL, we can work with SQL Server, you can work with Microsoft SQL, and you can work with a DB2. Any database you can easily handle it if we have a good knowledge on SQL. Okay, for this particular course, I would like to go with SQL Server. SQL Server. Is all people who are having the Windows or Mac?
Windows.
Windows, right? So the SQL, it could be, who are working on Windows operating systems. Only those guys only can able to work with the SQL Server easily. Otherwise, what you have to do actually, you have to go for creating your own virtual machines, Windows virtual machines, and you can start launching. You can you can create you can launch that SQL Server on your virtual machine. Okay, clear. If you don't have the virtual machine, if you don't have the Windows operating system, if you have the Windows operating system, you can easily work with this thing on. Okay.
Yes, I.
Yep. So that's what I told you. That's what for today's information. And tomorrow, what we can do, we can launch this particular SQL Server, and we can launch the SQL DBMS, database management system, and then what we can do, and we can start writing the queries and everything that we can execute the queries and we can try to understand. Clear?
Okay.
Okay, guys. That's for today's session. Hopefully you got it, and we'll meet you by tomorrow. Take care.
Okay, sure. Thank you.